Hello, everyone. Welcome to Webtoon Book Club. I got a new microphone. Today's story is PigPen, an actual story this week. Yes. Ignore the horse galloping, if you can even hear that. I'm not changing the volume on that. You can just deal with it. So our story begins with with our main character washing up on a beach, and he can't remember anything. The last thing he remembers is being on a boat, getting caught in a storm, and then waking up on the beach. But he's found by this family that is on the island that owns a bed and breakfast on an island. But they let him stay with them for the night, and he's very grateful for such. But they are a little off putting. The youngest daughter is a bit weird. The oldest son is quiet and a bit ominous. The dad is just kind of unsettling, and the mother is very nice, maybe a little too nice. And the oldest daughter is interesting to say the least. So during the next day, two more people show up on the island to utilize it as the service that it is. And he doesn't really question much. Makes sense. It's a business. So these people are here on a little island vacation, sure. So he explores around and he can't figure out anything about himself. He has his phone, but his phone is dead. So as he explores around, he ends up coming across a groundskeeper who is this old washed up celebrity who's really let himself go. So as the day goes on, he's just trying to figure things out, and it's not really going anywhere. But as later into the day, he ends up overhearing the dad punishing the older sister with a belt, and starts to question the morality of these people. And then when he asks about the two vacationers, they react like, "Who are you talking about? There was never anybody else that came here." Even though he saw them walk these two people off the docks. So things are starting to get weird. And then he finally is able to get his phone charged. Wait, no, I've skipped over some stuff. Sorry. The daughter then comes to him and says that, no, these people are crazy. I want off this island. Help me get off this island. So he helps her get to a boat. And she says, "Oh, I'll come back with help." So he goes around and tries to catch these people in acts of criminal actions or something of such. And when he thinks he has them cornered, they just call him out as a crazy person. And then the older daughter walks back in, all dolled up in new clothes and everything, and kind of just laughs at him like, "Yeah, no, I was making that whole thing up because they won't let me go do anything on my own." But the next day, he is able to get his phone charged up, and on there, he just sees pictures of food. Then things take a turn when he starts to look through more of the pictures, and he finds that he has a lot of pictures of himself tying people up, torturing them, and killing them. And he finally realizes himself, oh yeah, I'm a serial killer. So he tries to take action, but he's also kind of realized this family's also a bunch of serial killers through various things that are shown and found throughout the story. you see that, yep, these people are crazy, but so is our main character. So he goes out to try and kill the family. And he manages to kill the son at first with his own sickle. And then he goes after the father and manages to get him with his own shotgun. But the son ends up coming out of the woods and tries fighting him, but he just pushes him off a cliff. Then ties them both to the bottom of the water with rocks. And then when he goes back into the house to face the rest of the family, the dad and older son walk in. And he's like, how, but how are you people not dead? And how do you keep coming back? So they end up locking him into a tree house where he ends up spotting this little boy who's just kind of swinging on the swing set and then ends up running off. Our main character tries chasing after him, but it leads to nowhere. Where he comes across the groundskeeper again, who tells him some important enough information to try and get him going on accomplishing the task of getting rid of the family. But we also find that the groundskeeper has his own little underground sheltered camera area. And the whole thing is kind of treated as if it was like a betting game of some kind. Just some really messed up stuff. So, our main character goes around trying to kill the family members, but they keep coming back somehow. Until he finally finds some clues and figures out they can only die if they are killed by certain items in a more or less certain way. So one by one, he manages to find these clues, find the items, and takes care of the family members each one at a time. And once he manages to do that and permanently kill them, the groundskeeper looks at him and tells him, "You're the only one to make it this far, and you're the only one to even figure out anything so far." Well, that's in the middle of going between the family members. Once he's finally taken care of the family members, he decides, I'm going to go pay a visit to the groundskeeper. But he doesn't find him. Groundskeeper's just gone. Or is he? Because he ends up getting tackled by the groundskeeper later and tells him, I'm not here to fight you. You can just go. So he runs off to a boat, gets on it, and then we get cut away to our main character's background, where he kind of had a messy home life and then got moved to this other family who had a pig farm, which had same amount of family members in the same age area. Older daughter, young daughter, older son. Both of the parents. And he was treated very well there. But they also had a younger son who liked to run around in a pig mask. But we find out that our main character has auditory schizophrenia, in the sense of that he hears people talking badly about him, and he's kind of mentally unstable and kind of gets triggered by these auditory hallucinations and ends up doing some pretty terrible things. Well, he starts to get jealous of the younger boy, and through an accident the younger boy ends up dying. So our main character, still as a child, by the way, hides the body underneath the pig pen. But how the story presents it makes it seem like he grounded it up in the mulch. So the family tries to find the now missing boy, and in one of their searches during a stormy night, they end up running their car off, or their car ends up getting hit by a larger vehicle, and they end up getting tumbled off of a cliffside and all die, except for the father, who blames the main character for the whole incident, but usually tries to. But I think he tries to keep it to himself. So as our main character grew up, his auditory hallucinations and unstable mentality leads him to committing murderous actions anytime he thinks people are talking poorly about him, rather kicking people off of cliffs, torturing them, or just flat out doing whatever. And this section is actually following the father, who in his later years ends up hearing about how the that our serial killer main character ends up going into a coma, and he's just kind of being held in the hospital, and some new technology that allows people to connect minds with each other comes out, and he decides that he'll be the one to go in and look inside this serial killer's mind. So when he goes in, it's kind of like a game where he has to pick a persona to be presented as, and he ends up picking the washed up uh, pop singer. So he's kind of just watching this whole event unfold, but it's not just what we see in the story. Apparently, the event is being played out time and time and time again. And the family that's being presented is based on a family that he was staying with in real life at a real bed and breakfast that was actually in the mountains, that he ended up killing again due to his auditory hallucinations. But he ended up associating the names of the farmer's family with these random people. So our main character has gone through this scenario hundreds to maybe thousands of times, but each time before, he never made it that far. He always ended up getting killed by the family somehow. So the version we are following is the last version that succeeded, got through it, and then once we're back following the main character, he's battling his own counter ego, murderous side on the boat. And eventually, one side wins. And we're not sure who, but one side wins. And he wakes up, accepts his punishment of all of the crimes he has committed, and that's where our story ends. Pigpen is a very interesting story. It really throws a lot of twists and turns at you, which are really good, really well written. The artistry is just amazing. I love it. If you like the Sin City movie, you'll probably enjoy the artistry in this, because it is pretty similar, where it's pretty much black and white, where coloration is the importance, shows the importance of things. So this story is just really fun. It's really enjoyable. It's an absolute ride. It has a good amount of horror elements to an end, but mostly in the case that you're kind of just following around a bunch of crazy people. So yeah, really good story, really fun, and I really can't recommend it enough. It is just a ride, and yeah, I think this is just it's an interesting take on what you could say this is, where it has a mystery element to it. It has supernatural elements to it. It has all sorts of twists that it tries to, like, pull you through. It is a very fun story that will get you hooked pretty quick and will keep you wanting to read. So check it out, PigPen. But with that, that brings us to the end. There's more stories down in the description to pick from, so please pick which one you would like me to read about next, and vote for it in the comments below. And I will see you next time.